Okay, let's get on to our next guest. Our next guest is Dr. Robert Davis. Dr. Davis is an internationally recognized scientist in his field and has served as a professor at the State of University, New York, for over 30 years. He graduated with a Bachelor of Arts and Master of Arts from the City University of New York with a Ph.D. in Hearing Science and Audiology from Ohio State University. Dr. Davis has published over 40 articles in journals and several book chapters on various topics: audiology, the effects of noise on hearing, and auditory neuroscience. He's also lectured on these topics at national and international conferences and was awarded several major grants to fund research in the hearing sciences. His research and investigation into the UFO phenomena convinced him that the phenomena remains unresolved, is a source of considerable debate among millions worldwide, and is a very important concern, unfortunately ignored by the general scientific community. His brand new book is called UFO Phenomena, Should I Believe? Without any further delay, let's get him on the phone. Dr. Davis, good evening, and welcome to Fringe Radio.
Well, thank you very much for your invitation to appear on your excellent show. Pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you very much. How's your weather out there on the East Coast?
Oh, it's lovely. It's only minus 10 degrees with a stiff northerly breeze of about 20 miles an hour. So I'm having a lot of fun out here.
Is the snow started to fall where you're at?
Well, not as bad as the East Coast, but we certainly have our amount of snow that requires snow blowing, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know we talked a little bit for listeners. We talked a little bit today, a couple hours ago on the phone, just to go over a couple of things. And I was telling Bob that here it is almost 70 degrees today. It is just crazy how the Midwest is getting pounded in the East Coast. And I'm not laughing because I'll tell you, we actually need the moisture here without a doubt. But it has been really nice to not have to get out and freeze and put salt down all over and shovel. And you guys, especially the people in Boston, it's just unrelentless. It just will not let up.
Well, I was just in Florida, and I came home to this, so it's quite a contrast.
And, Florida, too, is getting hit with kind of a cold wave. I was looking at some pictures at some friends that went down to an event there this weekend, and they were all walking around with jackets. Now, it could be like Las Vegas. Once it drops under 60, everybody throws a parka on. I don't know, but it looks like the cold weather is hitting anywhere. Anyway, Dr. Davis, I want to thank you for taking the time to be here tonight. I just scratched the surface, of course, on your bio. How did you get into, or what prompted you to write the book and to get into the whole UFO phenomena, the whole subject of it?
Well, as a scientist, if you want to refer to me as that, I've always found the unexplained intriguing, and for some unknown reason, the UFO phenomenon has stimulated my interest since I was a child, and I think this phenomenon is as intriguing as it gets, and I suspect this affinity evolved from the flying saucer hype and repeated episodes of Star Trek while eating frozen TV dinners during the 1950s, and I'm sure many of us baby boomers can attest to that.
Yes.
But the phenomenon certainly presents very unique topics of debate and research challenges that need to be adequately addressed. It simply may have very important implications for both science and society, but really what made me sit down and write a book with steadfast determination was when my wife and I were in Sedona, Arizona, one of the most beautiful cities in this country and throughout the world, for that matter, when we observed an orange orb in the night sky, which remained stationary for a period of time.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Fringe Radio. Our guest for the second half of the show is Dr. Robert Davis. Dr. Davis, let's pick back up. Sedona. You and your wife went to Sedona.
Yes, and we observed that orange orb, which remained stationary in the night sky, when suddenly a second orange orb of the same exact size and color, appeared coming from either behind it or from it. It was hard to determine. And they both remained stationary for a period of time when they suddenly winked out. Well, that convinced me to sit down and write a book. It's certainly impossible to understand what that event was, whether or not it was a form of non-human intelligence, a atmospheric phenomenon of some type. But nevertheless, it was an unusual aerial event that I've never experienced, and certainly made an impression on me. But my book in general is not an attempt to convince the skeptics and believers of the phenomenon that they are governed by alien beings, or all UFOs can be explained as a natural or man-made phenomenon. The primary goal of the book is to provide evidence and theories, topics for debate, as well as scientific analysis to better understand the phenomenon, especially the force that, I guess you can say, governs and regulates its behavior. There's no question that UFOs exist. One question that can be answered with an unequivocal yes is, do UFOs exist? They do. But it doesn't necessarily mean they're physical craft from another solar system or dimension that are visiting Earth, in my opinion. It simply indicates that it's an unexplained moving object in the sky, and for the most part, they're generally weather balloons, satellites, meteorological events, advanced aircraft, or if quantum physics can possibly explain the phenomenon. But the more elusive question, I think, is, does the collective evidence provide undeniable confirmation that so-called non-human intelligent beings are operating UFOs and interacting with humans? And if there are, what is the force that governs its behavior? That's the essential question. But my position on the phenomenon, I guess you could say, is that of an agnostic. And based on the objective analysis of the evidence, I'm really not able to firmly commit to either should I say the existence or non-existence of intelligently controlled UFOs of non-earthly origin or of other dimensions. I simply do not know, despite many UFO researchers who contend they do. But I am certain that highly unusual UFO-related events have occurred that simply defy logical explanation, that are in great contrast with our current-day scientific principles, and that cannot be easily analyzed using the scientific method, which is why many scientists, or the general scientific community, does not become engaged in any research, let's say, capacity to study the phenomenon for a number of reasons. So there is, in my mind, no empirical evidence that provides undeniable, 100% proof to support such claims. But I don't exclude the possibility that some UFOs are operated by some type of intelligence from somewhere other than Earth or from another dimension. That is certainly possible. And in my book, I call for the need for an organized governance structure comprised of scientists from a diverse field to seriously sit down and analyze this phenomenon and conduct research in whatever means necessary using current scientific principles to better understand this phenomenon. But the problem is our current scientific principles may simply not apply to better understand the force that governs and regulates this unusual phenomenon. But very interestingly, there is a relatively new foundation called the Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters. The acronym is FREE, F-R-E-E. And their website is experiencer.co. It's not .com, but .co. And consistent with my chapter on the need for where research should go in this field, is supported very coincidentally by this foundation, which is a not-for-profit organization comprised of PhD physicists and psychologists, among other scientists, as well as physicians, to bring together a diverse study in the areas of human encounters with, shall we say, non-human intelligence, as well as related paranormal phenomenon. You can't exclude that as a possibility for the UFO phenomenon. So their goal, essentially, is to determine, through research, with contactees, or another term I guess can be used as experiencers, with non-human intelligent beings, the paranormal, and its relationship with quantum physics, consciousness, the paranormal, and non-human intelligence. So their goal is essentially, which I'm a member of, by the way, that's free, their goal is to determine if quantum physics can explain the phenomenon that's associated with UFO contactee phenomenon. And this is really the first academic research that's been undertaken in this field. And I encourage anyone who's had a highly unusual encounter with a UFO, or has experienced what we call an alien abduction, or other type of paranormal manifestation with a close encounter, to visit this website and to take the survey called Phase 1 survey, whereby they are attempting to try to determine from those who've had these unusual experiences, trying to determine if we can figure out possibly what is going on, because so many people are having very similar types of experiences that defy logical explanation, and which the scientific community cannot answer, at least not right now, given what we know about scientific principles and scientific methodology. But I guess quantum physics is an area I don't want to go into in any great detail now, but that abstract field, which is a branch of physics that deals with physical phenomena at microscopic levels, is highly controversial, but it addresses the possibility of alternate realities as a possible explanation for the UFO phenomenon. And many ufologists and scientists are starting to look at this theoretical field of physics as the possible way to explain what is going on. So the extra-dimensional hypothesis, in fact, which may be related to quantum physics to explain UFOs, may help to explain these types of accounts that people report, such as missing time and other experiences that I think Jacques Vallée coined as high strangeness, which is often experienced by many people who have had a close UFO encounter. So that's why I guess I wrote my book, and I simply wanted to help readers at every level of knowledge and belief in UFOs to develop a more objective perspective of these controversial issues. And we can go on and on, as many ufologists do, talking about specific UFO incidences like the Roswell 1947 UFO crash, and Rendlesham Forest, and the Phoenix Lights, Shag Harbor, the Belgian Way, the Hudson Valley. Go on and on and on, exploring specific incidents, even including astronauts who have recorded very strange experiences, as well as radar visual sightings and pilot sightings, and formal investigations like Project Blue Book, among many others. And the current disclosure project led by Stephen Greer and Stephen Bassett, as well as official testimony by many military and government officials, among others. And all of this information is informative. It's necessary. It helps us to determine whether or not an unusual phenomenon exists. And the answer is quite obvious. It does. The more elusive question, as I said earlier, is what is it? What governs and regulates its behavior? And we're not going to go anywhere, I don't think, by continuing to look at this phenomenon retrospectively and to continue to write books about UFOs over the Hudson Valley, or the Rendlesham Forest incident, or how many books have been written about the Roswell?
Right. Well, and so many different opinions on it too, and so many. I think with a lot of these books and the research, like you said, just as an example with Roswell, there are so many different takes on it. There are takes on it from it's aliens from outer space. It was a weather balloon. It was a Nazi bell. It was a German craft. I think the public in general. I'm not saying that we don't learn a little bit of something from all these different books and these different researchers, and of course, I think a lot of the stuff is, it's handed down, and I think sometimes the facts go a little bit astray, but I think it kind of also, in some cases, tends to confuse people who are trying to, maybe new people trying to research some of these topics because they don't know what to believe. There's just so much, there's so many flavors on the same incident.
I can't agree more with what you said. I address just what you said, in fact, in various parts of my book. And by the way, if I can plug my website, UFOphenomenon.com. That's UFOphenomenon.com, where more information about my book is available. But you're exactly right. The belief in UFOs as extraterrestrial craft, despite it high over the past, how many decades, regardless of the tenuous evidence, I guess has served to support many, as you say, extraordinary as well as controversial claims by many UFO researchers who say that non-human intelligence and physical craft is visiting our planet, they're abducting humans, the military has retrieved crashed UFOs like in Roswell, as well as aliens, and the government, the military continue to withhold information from the public. And I don't conclusively rule that out. Maybe all of these or some of these issues are true. But the point is, there's no, in my opinion, smoking gun or even some highly potent gunpowder to provide the 100% verification that proves that non-human intelligence is visiting Earth or has visited Earth. And that's why it's a major source of debate between the UFO believers and skeptics. So is Roswell, New Mexico in 1947, the smoking gun, when it occurred, and a lot of controversy obviously existed at the time. I don't even want to go into the details, but it didn't become a major source of controversy until Stanton Friedman interviewed his name, Jesse Marcel, in 1978. And when Marcel started talking about the I-beam with hieroglyphics on it, I think he said he observed dead alien creatures. Since then, it's been a major topic of debate. Maybe it was a flying saucer, or the government, of course, says it's Project Mogul, a spy balloon. But we're going to go nowhere, I think, continuing to debate these incidents. But I commend people like Peter Davenport, your previous guest, as well as MUFON, as well as other organizations like NICAP and NARCAP and what other acronyms are there, NUFORC, as well as other organizations worldwide, SERPA in France, among others, who have tried to study the phenomenon to better understand what simply is going on here, because we know there is something going on. And I don't mean to denounce or condemn leading UFO researchers, because their intention is commendable. They're trying to figure out the nature of this phenomenon. But they come to, I think, some come to general major conclusions without tangible evidence. That's what bothers me.
Yeah, Dr. Davis, I got to take a quick commercial break. Our guest tonight is Dr. Robert Davis. You can check out his new book, which is called UFO Phenomena, Should I Believe? All right, everybody, welcome back to Fringe Radio. Our guest tonight, Dr. Robert Davis. His book is called UFO Phenomenon, Should I Believe? Again, Dr. Davis, thank you so much for giving us some time this evening on your weekend.
Well, thank you again for your invitation for me to appear on your show.
We were talking right before the break, though, and I'll let you pick back up, but just a couple little notes while I'm listening here is, again, there are so many, and I want to agree with you. There are so many ufologists out there, like Peter Davenport and the Stanton Friedmans, and there's so many people out there that dedicate their lives to this subject. And I don't want to make a statement and say that I think they're going down the wrong path, because who knows at the end of the day. I think everybody is chosen a path, and they're trying to prove something, uncover something, and educate people. And as you know, I mean, a lot of people, if you've got nothing better to do than write some books, and every now and then I'll get an email and say, well, you had this guy on, he claims to be a ufologist, he's written a couple of books, he's just a shyster, he's just, he's doing it to make a ton of money. As you know, there's not a ton of money in this, because it is such a specialized field. You do put yourself a little bit in the crosshairs of some people by even talking about this type of stuff. People that do research on this, and even people like yourself that write books on this subject, you're not going to become a millionaire. You've got a passion to find some answers, or find your answer, whether right or wrong. The time and the investment is unbelievable.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I do not again denounce in any way ufologists who make such claims about UFOs being extraterrestrial craft, or that, again, we have dead aliens located somewhere underground in the Southwest somewhere, among other tenuous or unfounded, shall we say, conclusions. But a major goal for researchers in this field, as well as organizations which are highly fragmented, should really be, I think, to establish agreed upon protocols and theories that can possibly be tested by scholars from many different scientific disciplines. But that ideal mission, which may not be possible to accomplish again, given our limited understanding of possibly the principles that govern this phenomenon, is this mission, I guess you could say, is impeded by what? The intangible personal accounts that serve as the primary source of UFO evidence for study. There is a lack of tangible, objective evidence that's available, that is accepted, at least by the scientific community. And in fact, UFO investigations, I think you will agree, have been generally conducted by those with relatively little or no educational background or advanced degree in a scientific discipline. Now, that's not true in every case, but it is for the most part, I think. And there have been very few investigations that involve the analysis of physical evidence, which is lacking tremendously, such as ground traces from UFO landings, which are generally radiation or magnesium and some other elements, degraded soil and petrified trees in the area, among other types of disturbance to vegetation where craft allegedly has landed. Evidence from UFO photos and videos. You got to be careful when you look on the internet at these videos, whether or not they're real or not. But I have no doubt, based on pilot sightings confirmed by radar on hundreds, if not thousands of occasions, to serve as verifiable, documented evidence to support unusual aerial phenomenon, as well as physiological effects on an ongoing, consistent basis. And probably the scientific community is very reluctant in general to conduct research in this area, I guess for fear of ridicule by colleagues. Ask Dr. John Mack, who proposed, was a proponent of the alien abduction phenomenon. He was a leading psychologist, as you well know, at Harvard University, and he had a fight to maintain tenure because of his extraordinary belief at the time that aliens are abducting humans. And he had to engage in a legal battle in order to maintain tenure. He unfortunately was killed in England in a car accident, but nevertheless, we can get into that topic of discussion at a point in time if you want to go there. But on that basis, a lot of scientists do not want to get involved in this research, and it's very unfortunate because we need the scientific community to become more engaged in this type of research. And we need public and private sponsored support in terms of fiscal resources to help facilitate this kind of research. But I don't see it happening in the foreseeable future. And the general scientific community is still going to be critical of colleagues who pursue UFO research. But there are some, yet most, unfortunately, are very reluctant to study the phenomenon. And that's why ufology lacks credibility as a legitimate area of inquiry and investigation. And that's unfortunate, that it's considered a pseudoscience, when in fact it provides an avenue for many scientists across numerous disciplines to become more engaged in. Even the alien abduction phenomenon should be of critical importance to psychologists and sociologists, whether or not aliens are abducting humans. The fact that so many thousands of individuals who claim that to be the case
right.
Represents the need to better understand why they have that shared similar experience. the details of which, we can go over. But again, John Mack and Bud Hopkins and Jacobs, among others, have interviewed many people who have these types of experiences. And even if aliens or non-human intelligence is not abducting humans, the fact that they have these similar experiences calls for the need to understand why they're having these experiences, as well as paranormal manifestations associated with close encounters with UFOs. So the other related issue is that there are too many unsubstantiated conclusions by many ufologists, and I'm not going to mention names, but the conclusions they make are such that we're being visited by interstellar civilizations that can travel through other dimensions, faster than the speed of light. They're manifesting in our time and space as spacecraft with biological life forms. We have dozens of crashed UFOs and other alien life forms stored in underground facilities. Conclusions such as that. We reverse engineered alien technology, etc. Well, that may all be true. I'm not denying it, but where is the undeniable proof that it is that any one of those things may be true?
Right.
And it's primarily anecdotal, hearsay, which may be valid in some cases. I don't know, but that's, again, as a scientist, which may not be good in the sense that it biases me, in the sense that I want more objective evidence before I'm fully committed to a belief that non-human intelligence is visiting our planet in some way, either from another solar system or dimension or whatever it may be. I want that smoking gun. That's why I guess you'd say I'm an agnostic. I believe, and yet I don't disbelieve.
Well, and I think you have to be that way, Bob, because I guess there's so many people that want to believe in this, and I'm not saying that people haven't had experiences. I don't want people to, get upset by what I say, but I'm one of these type of people. If I didn't believe in it, if I didn't believe there was something here, I wouldn't be doing this show for as long as we have on Saturday nights. I can find other ways to entertain people. I can, do music or whatever. But, the thing is I take a lot of this, and I take bits. I call myself a researcher's researcher. I kind of take the bits and pieces, kind of like you've done, and you try to draw some conclusions from it. Do I believe that people are getting abducted by aliens? It could be. But then on the other hand, there is sleep paralysis. I've done a lot of, I'm not an expert, I'm not a researcher in that field, but I've done a lot of my own research on sleep paralysis, and that can very much seem like an alien abduction. Horrific hallucinations, what have you. But I don't like, I want to know, and I think most people do too. We can believe the different things we hear. We can read a book and say, yep, that guy's right on because he heard from this guy or he saw this piece of paper. I think that people in general want to believe. They take they take all this evidence, if you want to call it evidence, and a lot of it, I think evidence is maybe kind of a bad word because a lot of it is just somebody's opinion, and they try to derive a conclusion from it. And you're right, the smoking gun still is not there. But then I also believe that people have seen things, as I mentioned in the first part of the show, and I've said for years, I've seen what I will call two things that were just phenomenal for me to see. If they are of this world, we've got some unbelievable technology. And if they're not of this world, I've seen something magnificent. And I know I'm not crazy in what I saw, and I think that's what the average person also is saying. They have seen something, they've experienced something, but there's still not that hard, concrete evidence yet, to my knowledge.
I can't agree with you more. In fact, what you're alluding to is referred to as confirmation bias. We all make this error in inductive reasoning, whereby if we read or hear something that's consistent with our belief, we tend to agree with it, and thus will lack a certain amount of objectivity analyzing what we read. And that's a problem. And I try to, in my book, try to make the reader obtain a more objective opinion about this phenomenon. Not that I'm denying that it doesn't exist. The phenomenon certainly does exist. But the evidence to support the position by UFO believers who advocate that there is sufficient compelling evidence to corroborate the phenomenon, it includes what? The anecdotal testimony primarily. But there have been mass sightings, multiple witness observations.
Sure. Radar
visual sightings. Exactly. There have been reported electromagnetic effects from UFOs. People have psychological effects when they come have close encounters with UFOs. Physical evidence, shall we say, does exist, but it's primarily photographic or video, radar, and it's some analysis of trace elements, but that's not conclusive. It's primarily gamma rays or X-ray, microwave energy of some type. Scientific studies have also been done whereby 90 to 95% have been deemed unexplainable, with the remaining 5-10% regarded as unexplained. It doesn't mean that, again, non-human intelligence is here, but I can't help but think about Dr. Alan Hynek, who was a leading scientist and led major studies, and you know what I'm talking about, as well as many of your listeners, such as Project Blue Book and Grudge and Sign. And his conclusion, after being a skeptic of the phenomenon, was that after interviewing hundreds of people who had encounters, was that it's a profound mystery, and he became a believer in the phenomenon. He wrote many articles. He testified to members of Congress that the phenomenon may be extra-dimensional or extraterrestrial. It could involve a paranormal or psychic type of phenomenon that's unexplainable. But he became a firm believer in this phenomenon, and was criticized by many officials for advocating for this phenomenon.
Bob, I got to take an NBC news break. Our guest tonight is Dr. Robert Davis. Can we keep you for another go around?
Of course.